Good morning, good morning, good morning. On behalf of the mission to fight law enforcement and prosecutor misconduct, malicious prosecution, and vexatious litigation, forgive the setting. I've been very busy. Forgive me for not posting new content. But I have practically become a one-person law firm with a single client, myself, involved as a plaintiff in probably a dozen different actions. Now, why am I involved in so much litigation? Well, audience, the topic of the subject is why I'm involved in so much litigation. Digital harassment and digital stalking. I have an ex-girlfriend by the name of Francina Evans from Staten Island, New York, and those of you who follow me from Staten Island, New York are aware of my situation. However, I have been fighting Francina Evans, I want to say, for about 4 years as the victim of a final restraining order issued for life with no contact conditions and a 1,000-foot stay away. Why am I a victim of Francina Evans? Well, the truth is because I am an African-American male. Now, I want to say that the male is the first reason that is blocking me from receiving justice. Because in domestic violence, men cannot be victims, at least in the eyes of the biased, draconian law enforcement systems that still believe in the old domestic violence law. I think my second problem is the fact of my skin color, because law enforcement is proportionately and historically positioned to arrest and harass black men. So whenever someone makes a complaint against a black man, law enforcement jumps on it. It doesn't matter if that guy is innocent or guilty. It really only the intensity to which law enforcement looks for black men depends on really one factor: if he has a criminal record. A criminal record opens the door for law enforcement to harass a black man. It doesn't matter if he has a criminal record from 30 years ago. He did something 30 years ago, that's enough for society to label him as a criminal for the rest of his life. The same way society tends to label men as domestic violence abusers, despite acquittals, for the rest of their life. There are certain offenses as a man that you will never live down unless you work incredibly hard to expose the deceit of the situation, if you understand what I'm saying. The primary incident of that is domestic violence. The hardest thing to clear your name of is being falsely accused of domestic violence. And I know this from 4 years of experience, people. I have fought a war. I have gained an exceptional and I want to say a large reference to legal actions, excuse me. And I have learned, unfortunately and painfully, that domestic violence has nothing to do with men. It has nothing to do with justice. Domestic violence is a lie. Domestic violence is a trap. And domestic violence is a tool used by the system to oppress the economically weak. To oppress men, really, but to oppress economically weak men. And if you add things like being a minority to that, being the convicted felon, you just add strikes to what you are already dealing with a biased and corrupt system. We all know that the family court system is corrupt. There are thousands of content creators like myself who are exposing the falsities and the fraud that is within the family court system. But I think the major problem with the family court system is it's the entire system, because children in custody is only one part of the system. There are many times, like myself, where men are not involved in custody suits with women, but they are still being harassed, being defamed, and being maliciously prosecuted by a family court of some jurisdiction, of some county, in some state in this country. Because the truth is that now women have learned that domestic violence is a tool. Domestic violence is not something that honestly protects them, even though it's meant to be. Domestic violence has become a tool for women to exercise against men who have harmed them. And women, you may be watching this and think this guy is full of crap, but statistics show it. Let's talk about some statistics, people, because society doesn't really want you to know the truth of what's going on with intimate partner stalking, domestic violence, and even sexual assault. But ladies and gentlemen, if you take the statistics from the CDC, 40% of sexual assault offenders are women. 1 in 4 men will be stalked in their lifetime. 1 in 24 men will be stalked within a 24-month period. Men are stalked proportionately for longer periods of time than women are stalked. The average male who's stalked is stalked from 2 to 5 years, while the average woman is stalked from 12 months to 2.5 years, with the exception, I think, of 25% where men stalk them for a period of longer than 5 years. So people, now that I have become so knowledgeable about stalking, domestic violence, criminal procedure, and family law, I realize that I'm less angry, because I realize that I am not a special case. I am part of a problem that is destroying this country. And it is the injustice and the fraud and the, I want to say, bias and corruption that is within law enforcement that denies men the right to be victim. The protection of the 14th Amendment, which awards us equal protection if a court of law determines we need that protection. 3 years ago, a court determined that my ex-girlfriend was a severe danger to me. So much so that they put a lifetime restraining order, put a 1,000-foot keep away on her to keep her away from me, and they included my child. Now, there are people who want to make this seem like it's over a dog. But people, no judge in their right mind would put a 1,000-foot keep away on someone just for a dog. Judges put 1,000-feet restrictions on defendants because they know that defendant is going to keep stalking the physical person of the protected person in the order. Now, my dog is not a protected party of the order of protection. I am, and my infant daughter was a protected party. So for all the people who want to look at my ex-girlfriend's looks and listen to her story, and you want to manipulate the truth of a criminal conviction and a family court conviction, this is why I am involved in so much litigation. Because if these people want to be stupid enough to support a lie that's been adjudicated and dismissed before a superior court in a credible state before the United States of America, she doesn't have any money. So the people who want to support this lie clearly want to pay her tab for the 4 or 5 years she's been falsely reporting me and harassing me. So if you are supporting the lies of this woman, who has been proven before multiple courts to be lying on me, you are liable for civil liability. Well, whether it's intentional infliction of emotional distress, whether it's defamation or slander. People, if you are spreading the lies of a domestic violence offender who was found liable and her victim was acquitted, and you're spreading that lie, you are guilty of defamation and slander and intentional infliction of emotional distress. So for her telling people that I'm just suing her friends and family, no, people, I'm suing the people who are lying on me, that I can prove that are connected to her and lying on me. So let's not continue to falsify a narrative for a woman who is lying through her teeth. Let's simply tell the truth, audience, is that the biased and the gender biased and racism of domestic violence is why my ex-girlfriend has not been detained and will not be detained until some violence happens or something happens so extreme where my life is visibly in danger and then law enforcement has no choice but to do something. Because, see, audience, here's the truth. As a male victim of domestic violence who has been falsely arrested several times, I can tell you that women need no proof to have men arrested. Women walk in precincts and say a man calls them. They don't even need a copy of a phone call. They don't even need a screenshot of a text. People, they don't even need a call record. And the cops, the more racist the jurisdiction is, will totally arrest a man for an unsubstantiated charge that they have absolutely no supporting evidence against. Now, let's turn that in reverse. If a man goes into a precinct and says that a woman is calling him and harassing him, he needs phone records, he needs proof, he needs a witness, he needs so much evidence to prove that a woman is violating and harassing him. But women need nothing. They can walk into a precinct, they can say they've been hit, they cannot have a mark on their face, and the police are going to put an assault charge on that man. So, audience, this is what I truly advocate against. My problem, although my ex-girlfriend is still stalking me, is far bigger than her jealous, weak, lying, pathetic self. It is the institutional racism of law enforcement and the hysteric gender bias of that domestic violence has imposed on men. That is truly my problem. Francina Evans is a pawn being used by a racist and broken system. And she wants to be used because being used allows her, in fact, to harass her ex-boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend who broke her heart. Let's examine a couple of facts. I have a domestic violence restraining order for harassment against a woman who I have complete no contact conditions and must stay 1,000 feet away from me. Now, legally, people, that is the strongest order of protection you can get against an individual. Orders of protection like that protect you from everything, meaning the person is not supposed to harass you. Now, what is the definition of harassment? Harassment is any unwanted contact that causes a person to feel fear or emotional distress. Now, if she's contacting me, tagging my name, using my pictures, spreading a lie that's already been proven before the family court, people, that's harassment. Let's also talk about stalking. I'm going to tell you about stalking federally. The federal definition of stalking is a pattern of behavior that causes another person to fear for their safety or their well-being, And it involves certain actions like monitoring, I forgot all the words, monitoring, observing, communicating between either you or a third party, spreading false information. People, all of that encompasses stalking, especially nowadays where the internet has made it easier to watch people. But audience, guess what? The police will not arrest this woman. People, they know she's not supposed to be posting my picture. People, there's court orders. She's not even supposed to be hashtagging my name. But people, Francina Evans is doing all this because the truth is she knows the racism and bias in law enforcement is the only thing stopping her from being arrested. She knows that as long as her victim is a black man that the society turns on, they're never going to arrest her, people. This is why she goes from one precinct to lie to another precinct to lie, people. This is why it's been 4 years, and this woman has no proof she's ever been touched. She has nothing, people. Nothing. The only thing she has is a tired-ass story she keeps manipulating and changing every time she gets convicted. When are we going to wake up to the realities of abuse and domestic violence, which is that women are horrible offenders of domestic violence law? They falsify petitions, they provide false statements to cops, they perjure themselves on the stand. People, women lie through their teeth in order to obtain revenge and vengeful convictions against men who have hurt them. This is a fact, and far more women do it than men. The problem is that law enforcement refuses to charge people who file false reports and use vexatious litigation so that the people who are truly victims, like myself, can receive the peace and the justice that domestic violence restraining orders in the 14th Amendment are supposed to afford us. And this is the major problem. So, audience, we're not going to take a long time today. I just like to stay focused on the issues. And the issues are simply this, is that the domestic violence is horribly biased. It's racist, it's biased, and the truth is law enforcement systems like the Staten Island District Attorney's Office, who I fight now, they are the major problems. Because racist, draconian prosecutors like Mike McMahon and his staff, Darren Albanese, Ashley Oley, whatever the hell her name is, these are racist Caucasians that don't believe black men can be victims. So when they're in a situation like somebody like myself, me, a black man, a strong black man, a black man who speaks directly against the misconduct of the office, people, they turn a blind eye to what's going on. They ignore the fact that they honored a woman who has been stalking a man for 4 years, a man that they dropped the charges against, a man that can prove that the woman is stalking him, all to protect the professional credibility of an office that framed an innocent black man for a lying black woman. People, this is the truth about racism and domestic violence. See, women don't face racism from law enforcement because law enforcement knows the truth, that minority women are the tools they use to arrest minority men for false orders of protection. And I am a living example of that, by a woman who has falsified over 40 reports, perjured herself almost a dozen times, has a complete no-contact, final 1,000-foot stay away, lifetime restraining order against her. And people, she's cyber harassing me. She's digitally stalking me. People, these are all things that I can prove with substantial evidence. But as a minority black man and a victim of domestic violence, people, law enforcement does nothing. They will not do anything. And I strongly believe it's because they're waiting for me to lose control and try to hurt this woman. Because once I snap, once I take matters into my own hands, then they can flip the narrative around and they can say, oh, look, she was in danger the whole time. But ladies and gentlemen, they got the right black man. I'm never going to give these racist, biased, piece of shit law enforcement agents, I'm never going to give them what they want because I don't give a fuck about that woman. I just want her to leave me alone. I want my federally protected right as a victim of domestic violence pursuant to the Violence Against Women Act. I want the right to be left alone. I don't care if she's in jail. I don't give a fuck about fines. I want the one thing that I was awarded 4 years ago from a judge with regard to Francina Evans. I just want to be left alone. And it's a shame that Michael McMahon of the Staten Island District Attorney's Office and prosecutors will not prosecute this woman because of their draconian and biased, gender-biased racism against men and minority men. I call out the Staten Island District Attorney's Office today for racism. You have a man who has definitive proof that a woman has falsified testimony to you, provided false statements, and lied through her teeth, stalking her ex-boyfriend for almost 4 years, ladies and gentlemen. But the Staten Island District Attorney's Office and Mike McMahon ignore the stalking of Francina Evans. They ignore the fraud. They ignore the perjury, people. You know why? Because the victim of all of that is a black man. Staten Island, if you expect ever to have any true victim rights, of being a minority, Spanish, black, Chinese, whatever the hell you are, you need to realize the one and the biggest problem you have is the racist institution of law enforcement that controls your community. And your racist district attorney, Mike McMahon. Mike McMahon, this is Clayton Howard. You know who I am. You're a racist. You refused to arrest Francina Evans because you're sexually attracted to her. This is why you honored her, knowing that she was the defendant of a domestic violence restraining order with a 1,000-foot keep away against her. This is why you framed an innocent black man, because you knew that Francina Evans was guilty of those domestic violence offenses and that you had to frame me before the public to diminish my credibility and boost hers. Mike McMahon, you're going to be held accountable for it. Ashley Oley, you're going to be held accountable for it. Darren Albanese, you're going to be held accountable for it. Gabrielle Giovinazzo, you're going to be held accountable for it. And every person from Malcolm Penn to Victor Brown to every person in that community who helped that girl push a lying narrative against an innocent man, yes, I am suing you. Yes, you're going to be held accountable. And yes, I'm going to have my day in civil court where you're going to have to answer for the things you validly did to me. See, you can keep supporting Francina if you want to. She's not telling you the truth. She's not showing you the transcripts that prove she's lying. She's not showing you the convictions that prove that she was stalking me through the state of New York and New Jersey. The only thing she's doing is putting a bunch of red lipstick on and using a filter that hides all the acne on her face so she looks prettier, so you believe that she's just this pretty, beautiful church girl who's being stalked by an angry black man. People, I don't want nothing to do with that girl. I don't want to know her. I don't want to be in the same place as her. People, I want to fucking forget that I ever met this woman. People, you got to remember something. I met this girl burying my mother. So it's already traumatic for me because whenever I think about burying my mother, I think about this psychotic bitch leaning on my car. People, she's been stalking me for years. She's been stalking my dead mother. She uses my family to harass me, posting my mother. My mother meant nothing to this girl. This girl lied to me for over a year and bilked me out of thousands of dollars while she did the same thing to my mother. When I found out that she was lying and that she had been charging my mother for her little corny-ass juice business the whole time, do you know what this girl's answer was? And I have it in text message, people. Her answer for lying to her ex-boyfriend about his recently dead mother was, "Oh, at least I gave you free stuff." Wow, people. How do you lie to a man about taking care of his recently dead mother, and when he exposes the lie, you tell him, "Oh, well, at least I'm doing stuff for you"? People, this is why I had to break up with this girl, because she's so narcissistic. She's so fucking stupid that this is the type of stuff she was doing. And she thinks just because she's a little pretty, she can get away with it. People, you know who I am. I was sleeping with a supermodel for 8 years and getting paid. You think I really give a fuck about some corny girl from Staten Island with horrible vagina? Absolutely not, people. That's why I broke up with her like that. That's why it took nothing for me to break up with her. That's why I could break up with her and never call her. Because, people, here's the truth. What's good for one person ain't good for somebody else. And just because Francina Evans looks like gold does not mean she's gold. She might be gold for another man. I wish her the best in that relationship. But she wasn't for me. She was weak, she was a liar, and she had lied to me about my recently dead mother. Later, after the months went on and the relationship got worse, she got jealous of my infant daughter and decided to attack an 8-month-old. People, this is all the stuff that this woman is doing. And if you look at her current content, you clearly see she's crazy. She's obsessed with me, people. She is obsessed with a man who wants nothing to do with her. She wants to keep telling you she's being abused. People, where? People, in order to be a victim of domestic violence, you have to be abused, people, physically or verbally. You can't count arguments a man had with you after he dumped you because you were stalking him as verbal abuse. No, people, this is what this girl is doing. See, people, she was stalking me. And when I got mad and said, "Hey, leave me the F alone," now that's domestic violence. People, no, it's not. It's you not leaving me alone. It's not domestic violence for a man to curse a woman out who is harassing the shit out of him, people. He's tired. Maybe he could respond a different way. True. We can be more mature. We can speak better. We can try to have some reserve. But people, when someone is stalking you, harassing a kid, trying to destroy your life, all of that reserve goes out the window and you just want the person to leave you the hell alone. Nobody should be judged for responding negatively to someone who is validly stalking them, lying on them, and trying to destroy their life. But this is what the fake proponents of domestic violence, the women who are supporting lying women, this is the narrative they use. Oh, he cursed at her after he broke her up. People, that's not domestic violence. Cursing at a psycho woman who assaulted your child and filing false charges on you because they're crazy is not domestic violence. You know what is domestic violence? Stalking your ex-boyfriend, robbing his house, assaulting his infant daughter, lying, telling people that he beat you just because he dumped you, filing false reports on him to get revenge on him because he broke your heart. People, oh, that's domestic violence. But there are so many women who know that this is truly domestic violence. People, this is why they basically shit on me. Because people, 80% of the women who know Francina know what she's doing is domestic violence, but they support this because they support women who go after the men who break their hearts. See, people, that's the real Me Too movement. The real Me Too movement is I want to say, is fragmented into two true purposes. It's a tool for women to get revenge on the men who have hurt them, and it's a tool for the powerful to manipulate to destroy other powerful people. It's not actually about justice, people. Me Too is a movement that homosexuals, forgive me, and women have created to destroy powerful heterosexual men. It doesn't really even apply to, I haven't seen it apply too much to homosexuals. It always applies to straight men with women. And most of the time we see these Me Too things, the women are 100% complicit. They're basically prostitutes extorting the men for money, who get mad they can't extort the men for money, so they lie and accuse rape, domestic violence, etc. And people, I can give you some famous examples from Bill Cosby to Harvey Weinstein to even recently Diddy. People, Diddy went to jail because he paid men to satisfy his ex-girlfriends who were totally into it, dude. And even though the men are coming forward, speaking against the women, proving the women are lying, Diddy's still in jail. Do you know why, people? For exactly what I'm saying. The biased racism and discrimination in law enforcement that use allegations of domestic violence to destroy men. This is why I say free Diddy. This is why I say free any man who goes to jail for something that he did not do. It does not matter if there's even a shred of complicity in it. If this guy was prosecuted and the prosecutors lied on him to protect the lies of a woman and the things she did, people, I don't support that. So yes, people, I speak against domestic violence. I speak against intimate partner stalking. I speak against the lies of women like my ex-girlfriend, who has filed dozens of false police reports on me and stalked me between 2 states for almost 4 years with absolutely no law enforcement intervention. Not because I'm lying, people, because again, I am a male victim of domestic violence and a minority male. Law enforcement does not believe minority men can be victims. They absolutely refuse to accept that fact. We can be bank robbers. We can be rapists. We can be drug dealers. But we cannot be a victim. And if they find a situation where a minority male is a victim, they do everything in their power to do 2 things. Minimize his victimhood or completely ignore it. Because they want, prosecutions now are marketing games. They look for prosecutions they can put up, and they can manipulate the public narrative in order to get the conviction they want. It's not about evidence. It's about manipulating the public narrative and infecting jury pools so these corrupt, biased, unskilled, lying prosecutors get the convictions they want. And this is what they do in bum-ass district attorney's office like Staten Island with inexperienced prosecutors who are truly racially motivated and motivated off gender bias to keep harassing black people or minorities. I don't like to say black people because this is a far bigger problem than black people. And white men, don't think I forgot about you because you go through it too. White men who are not the social class, who are not of socioeconomic status where they are held to the same standard of white men, they go through it too. Family court, white women do the same thing to white men, and they do it just as horribly as black women do it. And this is a fact. So people, I continue my mission. I continue to fight against malicious prosecution. I continue to fight against false reporting. I continue to fight against vexatious litigation. And more importantly, I continue to fight against the racism and gender bias of local prosecutors' office, like the Richmond County DA's office, and its head Ku Klux Klan member, Michael McMahon. People, I don't talk about this guy because I just don't like him. I talk about him because I personally know this man. My mother personally knows this man. He's known me for over a decade, and he allowed a woman to fabricate a charge on me because I was a black man with a criminal record. People, until my last breath, I am going to advocate against that racist piece of shit, Michael McMahon. Staten Islanders, if you're watching, go to the Staten Island District Attorney's page. Leave a review. Talk about the truth of the situation, which is that the Staten Island DA's office is biased. Talk about the fact that your cousins, your brothers, your friends and family for years have been subjected to malicious prosecutions, false arrests, trumped up prosecutions where they put more drugs on somebody than actually there, where they'll fabricate a robbery to make it look like someone's robbing people that they're not even doing, people. This is what they do on Staten Island and in communities like that. So on behalf of Justice People in Operation Rock at 7:30, just because I work from home today does not mean I get to sit in my car all fucking day. I have to go. But people, support the movement. Even if you don't like me, you have to respect the issue. The issue is the truth. If you are a minority male and you are facing any type of domestic violence issue, you are my brother. Unless you're guilty. If you're guilty, I ain't fucking with you. But if you are innocent and you are being lied on by a woman, if you are being vexatiously litigated, if you have a woman lying to the family court about your child, this is me and you are in the same place, dude. If you have an ex-girlfriend who is so mad you dumped her that this is what she wants to do, because people, women are stupid. The fact that you get arrested for a night makes them feel good. And not all women are stupid. I'm not trying to attack all women, but a lot of vengeful women are stupid. The fact that you get arrested for one night, they really did think they did something, because now they put a case on you, so you jammed up in court 8 months. This is what these dumb women do. The thing that we have to do is get them jammed up for falsely arrested and maliciously prosecuting people. Because if they get arrested for falsely reporting people, they'll do more than a night in jail. And I promise you, people, if law enforcement starts arresting the people who file false reports with valid evidence, false reporting will stop. But law enforcement needs those arrests. They need those statistics, so they'll never arrest a false reporter unless they 100% have to. And people, I'm going to make that shit 110% that they have to arrest this lying girl, or they're just going to keep facing millions of dollars of litigation. Every time they deny my equal protection, every time they deny my rights, every time another idiot state takes up the cause of this lying woman and does not check the transcripts and the actual dismissals against her, you're going to be sued. So on behalf of justice and the legally skilled Clayton Howard, fuck with me if you want to. But you really need to learn the truth, which is that women abuse process and lie on men. And the true support needs to go to those victims, the people whose lives are being destroyed because jealous, bitter exes or partners decide to weaponize law enforcement to destroy their lives. I don't want to be weaponized anymore, people. I have rights. I've been through way too much in the last 5 to 6 years of my life to continue to be maliciously prosecuted and just totally disregarded by a law enforcement system that is supposed to protect me. So I choose to fight. Staten Island District Attorney's Office, I am your biggest and most dangerous fucking enemy, believe me. You won't be elected, or you won't be elected. Your office will receive no credibility as long as Clayton Howard speaks, and I'm going to find more people to speak against you. Again, anyone who's watching this at the end of this video, I strongly encourage you to go to the Staten Island District Attorney's Office Facebook page and leave a negative review. You don't even have to talk about me and the fact that they are refusing to honor order of protections against minority men. Talk about the truth. Talk about the false arrest on Staten Island, the weak prosecutions, the delayed responses to criminal offenses, the lack of communication between the office and actual victims they don't want to hurt. They don't want to help. People, write reviews on this guy's page. Review the District Attorneys of Staten Island page and take it from an 86 down to a fucking 12, people, because that's the only way you make the public aware of what's really going on in that audience, in that office. People, don't ignore it. Go to the District Attorney's page of Staten Island. Write a negative review. Start to speak out against the things that this office is actually doing. And let's effectuate some change. Eventually, people, I will be back in the charity space in the city of New York. I just have to deal with all this litigation, and it's slowing down my life. But I do intend to go incredibly hard against that office when the day comes. Because I believe that the office, any office of a prosecutor, that is so biased and so racist against minority men, I believe they need a professional overhaul. And maybe that's what I'm here for. Maybe I'm here to build enough power base and support that we can start to give these local prosecutors' offices the personnel changes they need to make them, I want to say, compliant with the rights of all people, not just white people, not just women. On behalf of Justice, Operation Rock, this is Clayton. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and follow. Support the movement to stop intimate partner stalking, vexatious litigation, and racism and gender bias in prosecutors' office. Anybody can be a victim, people. Anybody. The only prerequisite for a victim is for somebody to victimize you. And you don't have to ask somebody to victimize you. It's just something they do because they want to victimize you. You shouldn't be held accountable because someone else wants to victimize you. That's my message. And I won't be accountable because a woman is perjuring herself, committing fraud, and committing numerous new felonies. And a local district attorney won't arrest her because they made the mistake of honoring her and they don't want to embarrass themselves before the media. So people, I'm going to embarrass them. The Staten Island District Attorney's Office honored a woman who has been stalking her ex-boyfriend for 4 years. And now, because they know that they have egg on their face, they refuse to prosecute her and grant that man the legal protection that domestic violence restraining orders are meant to provide, which is the legal right for a victim to be left alone, because it's something we can't do without the help of the police or getting ourselves in trouble. So law enforcement, you have a legal obligation to grant me the right to be left alone. And if I can show you that an offender will not leave me alone and you won't arrest him, then you are legally liable for 1983 violations and 1986 violations for failure to convene. And this is why the Staten Island District Attorney's Office is in court. So ladies and gentlemen, learn the law. Learn to fight for your rights. Never give up. Never. Because they want you to give up. This is why they make the process so hard. So you give up. You don't have the determination, the will to keep going. But when you've really been victimized, people, you have the will. You have the strength. You have the determination to make sure the people who are fucking with you pay. And the people who are messing with me are the local district attorney's office of Staten Island that refuse to prosecute a woman that has been definitively proven to be stalking and filing false reports on her ex-boyfriend. So people, we're going to expose them. The Advance can keep reporting about broke crackheads and finding paraphernalia in their drawer. They can keep reporting on the issues that don't matter to Staten Island. Clayton is going to go outside of Staten Island. Clayton's going to get before the national news about what's going on in New York and the Staten Island District Attorney's Office and how the local newspaper will do nothing to report on the true misconduct of the District Attorney of Staten Island. People, I already have a platform, unfortunately, from the Diddy things. I have CNN scheduled. I have a bunch of interviews scheduled. And I am going to talk about what the Staten Island District Attorney's Office, the racism, the bias, and the gender protection of Francina Evans. And this is about to blow up. I am tired. And I want peace, I want justice, and I want the right to be left alone. So on behalf of stalking victims and victims of intimate partner stalking, this is Clayton with another message this morning. I hope I didn't ramble because this was kind of unplanned, but people, you get it. Stop intimate partner stalking, expose vexatious litigation and false litigation filed by bitter ex-partners like Francina Evans, and corrupt prosecutor systems who refuse to hold legitimate villains and defendants accountable and instead choose to falsify narratives against the innocent. I was framed by Michael McMahon in the office of the Staten Island District Attorney. They're facing federal litigation in the Eastern District of New York for framing me right now. It's not a lie. They lost their 12B motion to dismiss people. They have to go to trial and litigate this case because of what Francina Evans has done. People, when are you going to realize the truth? That the Staten Island District Attorney's Office is corrupt, that Michael McMahon is a racist, and that gender bias controls domestic violence. Thank you for watching, people. We'll be back in a couple of days. Thank you for watching.